Live and learn, everyone. It's Deep Dive Zone, a Sonic review series for fans of all shapes and sizes. I'm your host, Evan, joined as always by my buddies Lauren, Bruce, and Sid. And guys, today we are finishing off Sonic Adventure 2 for good in the final story.
Hype way to conclude the game with a secret last story that brings the other two together and ties up all the loose ends, or tries to at least.
Honestly, as a concept, great thing to do. Love
Honestly,
the
yeah.
idea behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little more. It feels more streamlined than Adventure 1's way of doing it, just by way of there not being as many stories leading up to it. It feels more like a proper conclusion.
Yeah, there's no fishing in the way, so it feels a lot.
Right.
Well, and the end of Dark story, where Eggman activates the Eclipse Cannon and we just see warning signs, it leads very naturally into this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we pick up right there, basically. So, Eggman activates the cannon, but it does not fire. For whatever reason, whether that's because it's exploded or not, we're not going to have more arguments about that. Instead, we see the secret plan of Gerald Robotnik.
So Rouge is just like hanging around. Sonic and Knuckles are off, and everyone else are off, just like in like the observation area or whatever. And Rouge is there too. Like, why'd she leave? She could have at least stayed in the Emerald Chamber and then seen when Shadow was defeated. Then she could have just taken the emeralds. But no, once again, she's really doing a poor job at what she's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, Rouge exposits to us the secret plan of Gerald Robotnik. The cannon does not fire. Instead, Gerald has programmed posthumously into Shadow, basically, a setting for the arc that sends it hurtling towards the planet, killing potentially anyone on or off of it.
Right.
And with this comes this video of Gerald in his final moments cursing the human race for taking Maria from him before being executed by firing squad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did say I like more serious, darker story, but you do have to still make it a story that comes together and is cohesive. There are a number of problems here. First of all, they never explain why the government thought it was necessary to stop Gerald's research and, resort to such drastic measures, killing Maria and then driving Gerald insane. It's much more impactful when you have, the full context of the mad scientist, rather than just, I went mad because there was bad. Second thing, so yes, there's literally a recording of him getting executed. How is that recording here, though, then? They do not explain this at all.
Yeah.
I have to assume, as you said, that he somehow programmed it into Shadow, and then Shadow installed the recordings, I guess, in the middle of the events of the game. He must have taken the recordings up to the Ark. That's the best I can think of.
Well, we know it was definitely installed in Shadow, because Shadow's the one doing at least part of this.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
this
no,
is where
100%.
Shadow's desire for revenge comes from, is that
Right.
he didn't
It's-
just
it's-
mishear Maria.
It's not technically Shadow's desire for revenge. It's Gerald's desire for revenge programmed into Shadow.
Yeah, and the problem with this is that, yeah, it's just not exposited very well. Our primary
Yeah.
source on how this stuff does fit together mostly is a document called The Truth About 50 Years Ago, which is a Japanese-only document in a manual for this game that is Rouge's report on the events that talks about how the Ark was raided over the course of 7 days, and Maria was killed for resisting in the process of that and trying to save Shadow. And after that, Gerald was, driven insane and taken to the Earth, where he was forced to keep working on Project Shadow because the military was not afraid of Project Shadow in that they thought it was dangerous and shouldn't exist. They were afraid in that they thought they wouldn't be able to control it. The reason they
Right.
raided the Ark was because the original prototype was considered too dangerous. So all of this is the result of Gerald's plan. I don't know how exactly the recording got on there. Maybe Shadow had a USB drive,
That's my thought, is he brought it over
Rusty.
and put it in. Probably he installed the program 2 into the Arc. And that explanation mostly works, although it makes things more complicated too, because then it leads to another question, which is like Shadow already existed. Why would Gerald need to work on the Shadow project more? Unless what Rouge was hinting at is true, and Shadow really isn't the Shadow that knew Maria, and the Shadow that knew Maria like burned up in the atmosphere or something, and then Gerald made a new one.
Yeah, and they never
Yeah.
explicitly say that. Canonically, it's not true, but there
How? Well, then
is.
what was Gerald doing?
I assume the government wanted him to make more shadows.
Well,
Well, but
Shadow
he
might not have
didn't.
been fully
know he
immortal
didn't.
and not aging at that point. We don't know
Or
exactly how
either-
complete he was.
Maybe that, or the plan was to make more shadows, but they never successfully did.
Yeah. Because that's what the government, that's what the feds wanted. They wanted an immortal soldier. They don't have that with
Right.
only one.
They have an immortal dude.
Yeah, that's what all the math inside the cell in Prison Island was, though, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
it's a little shaky. It mostly is okay, I think.
It's
With
fine
that
enough.
explanation, it's mostly okay.
Yes, within
Not
the
mostly
context
okay
of the
in
game, it's very vague.
Yeah.
That aside, though, they hit the atmosphere pretty well. Gerald's diary entries, as they talk about their own descent into madness, is legitimately unsettling.
Oh, it's creepy. I really like the tone they
Yeah.
cast here, yeah. They are not scaling things back for the adventure sequel. But it means that, we've got another ticking time limit, which thankfully is not a real time limit in-game, thank God. I mean, I guess it is for the final boss, but it's not a big deal. But we have to, all of our characters that we've accrued over the course of the game have to work together to stop the Ark by using the Master Emerald to shut down the Chaos Emeralds. That's the entire reason Knuckles is a part of this, other than because it's a Sonic game, you put Knuckles in it.
They finally justified his inclusion, but the fact that he even got here in the first place still makes no sense.
It's
just
complete coincidence.
luck. Yeah.
But it is like it gets the blood pumping, but it means that you have to do the 5-character collaborative stage, Cannon's Core.
So, the more I'm thinking about it, I was like, why is Eggman jumping on the team here? Wasn't he about to destroy the world? I think you're actually right, though. He probably wasn't. So, yeah, I imagine he wasn't, because he jumps right on as if suddenly he's spooked at what's going on. And he actually, pulls through, which is kind of surprising. Good aligned Eggman, that's rare.
Yeah, Cannon's Core is the uncertain alliance of everybody. You start out as Tails, and you get a section for each character, basically. And I find it amusing that even here in the collaborative level that you could basically switch Tails and Eggman and nothing would change. Tails' level design still feels more annoying.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a problem with either of their sections.
Eh.
It's not that bad, but it's like, He's got more artificial chaos, though.
Does he?
That may be true. I'm not sure. It didn't
think
really
he
bug
does.
me at this point because of a really neat gimmick they introduce here.
Yes, this is one of my favorite level gimmicks. This level has special switches that stop time when you press them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is great. It is immensely satisfying to blow up artificial chaos while they just cannot reach you because they cannot move at all. Take that, finally.
Yeah. And they use it for interesting things that I'm not totally sure if they make sense, but if you hit the switch it also means that the lasers will not fire because I guess they're a constant stream of light and you're between each stream. I don't know.
I'm
Don't
not
complain.
sure how it works, but it's cool, so I'll take
Yeah.
it. Also, I love these little touches, and this is useful also for getting the A rank. If you look, you'll notice that freezing time even freezes the level timer.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
Well, that was the reason that why when I was watching Bruce play the other night, I would see him in Knuckles section or whatever, and it's like, oh, the timer only says 6 minutes. But it's like, we've been here longer than that.
Huh. I didn't even notice that. I was too busy trying not to die.
I've never tried to
the
get an A
little
rank on this
things.
level anyway, but
The little
It's little
things are what
things,
I
exactly.
appreciate.
Exactly, it's the little things.
yeah. Tails and Eggman sections are pretty straightforward. You go through a gauntlet
They're
of
fine enough.
enemies and buttons, and they both end off with a big security door or a wall or something that you have to shoot and blow up.
Yeah, I did run into one problem on Eggman's level.
Did you spawn as Rouge? That happened to me.
No, that...
What?
Yeah, for some reason, I encountered a bug when I did this, not for recording, but for note-taking, where I spawned in Eggman sections as Rouge for some reason.
Fascinating.
Buggy PC port strikes again, I guess.
I think it might be a
No,
modding
my problem
conflict
was
more than a PC
way
problem.
more mundane.
What was
That's
your problem?
I got knocked backwards so hard by one of the Chaos robots, I had to ride the elevator back up because it went down immediately.
Oh no.
Gosh.
I knocked back onto the elevator, then I had to jump and ride it back up.
God,
Yeah.
that's awful.
The other thing I can say is that Eggman's section here is a rare case of copy protection in Sonic games, where in only the original Dreamcast version, if they detected that you were running a pirated copy of the game, Eggman would just fall through the floor.
It's hilarious.
It's funny, but also, like, why would you put it that late in the game?
Well, typically you don't put it at the start, but yes, doing it that late is a little...
Reminds me of Earthbound's
Like,
copy
I'll just
protection.
stab you at the last second. It's like they weren't really that vindictive. They were just a little vindictive.
They were just a
I
little
almost
annoyed,
feel like that's
oh.
more vindictive. It's like, we're gonna let you put all this time into the game, but you'll never be able to you actually completed it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like most people wouldn't be that bugged by that, but yeah, I guess.
I will say, the level revolving around time switches, it's interesting because, you know, the research here was about preserving the human lifespan, so that could be one experiment they did into it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I hadn't even thought of, like,
Yeah,
plot
huh.
reasons. I thought, oh, it's, you know, science station, so sure. But yeah, that
Especially
makes
since
sense.
they had Chaos Energy and Chaos Emeralds, which have some time properties.
Right.
Though we're not at Sonic 06 yet. Anyway,
Well, even
So, yeah.
teleporting, you need probably some sort of time control.
yeah. So, Tails and Eggman sections are fine. Rouge's section focuses on draining all of the coolant, this orange tang jello, from the core. And I do like this part just visually, because as you get deeper and deeper inside the canon, things get more archaic and strange and surreal, which I think is really cool.
That is
Um,
interesting.
This one has, you know, all of this orange coolant, but it also has these big, like, moving panels on the walls with orange energy going across it, have these cryptic designs on them.
Yeah, no, design-wise, it's neat. I think this makes more sense, usage-wise, of the time freeze than the lasers, for instance. It's freezing time so that you can go against the water flow.
Yeah, it makes it so you can jump through it. And, I mean, all we really have to do is go one way, hit a button, go back, hit the other button. It's not too big a deal for Rouge.
Hmm.
The second Hunter section is, of course, a Knuckles section. And it is almost entirely underwater. Meaning, you sure had better have picked up the air necklace in Aquatic Mine.
And
Which I
guess who
didn't. I had to
didn't?
go back and get it.
I thought about it, but Devin said not to.
Why? Why did you betray him? Are you two actually friends?
No, so I think it was a matter of if you exit the stage, you're gonna have to restart it all over again.
It was sunk cost
Honestly,
fallacy.
still would have been worth it,
Oh
probably.
yeah,
I
no,
was considering
accepted
doing
that
it.
I would have to redo it when I did that. I was like, no, I cannot get through this without
Yeah,
the hair necklace.
was-
I'm redoing the first 3 parts. I don't give a shit.
Oh,
I was considering doing it, but I didn't end up doing it.
So everybody pat Bruce on the back because he did it without the air necklace. And
Hey.
those timings are tight.
Yeah,
I have done it once before just to see what it's like, and yeah, it's
I remember
ridiculous.
you were at my house.
Man, yeah, why would you just hide a win button away like that? It's so strange.
Well, yeah, something like that really should be a mandatory upgrade, like something
Yes.
that really
Yes.
reward you towards.
It should. But yeah, I mean that pretty much sums up the whole thing, because that's all you're going to be thinking about is, oh, I'm going to die if you don't have
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, that was me.
But what was I going to say? Oh yeah, there's one positive thing I have to say about this, which is design-wise. So between Tails and Eggman, there's like no link at all. But between Rouge and Knuckles, you're literally playing the same part of the stage, but it's flooded now, which is
that
really
was
neat.
cool. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and you use one of Rouge's switches to get through part of Knuckles' area, which I think is pretty neat.
I really wish they had done that like through more of the stage, because it makes it feel, like it's a mission that everyone's on together. Whereas otherwise,
Yeah, all you get is a door.
It's not really that connected. It's more just like we stuck a bunch of stages together.
Well, and in Knuckles' case, one thing that I think would have made everything not that bad is if you hit the time switch, that should make your drowning timer stop too.
I mean, sure, I guess.
No, actually, no. I have to disagree with that on a biological level.
Well, I know on a biological level. I mean, just mean in a gameplay sense, it would make sense.
On a gameplay level, yes, I agree, but that would still bug the shit out of me.
Just make the air necklace mandatory. That's all it takes.
Well, yeah, that would be as easy as just doing that.
I guess. But it would sync up decently with the part where you have to chain 2 button presses together.
Yes, that one.
Because crawling through the corridors that have currents flowing through them is nerve-wracking as Knuckles.
God, yes, it
hated
was.
those.
That was awful.
I don't know if Knuckles just moves slower when I'm controlling him or whatever, but it was so hard for me to actually do some of these things in the right amount of time.
His swimming feels very slow.
It almost made me quit out of the level for a third time. Because I was getting so frustrated trying to do Knuckles shit in time.
Yeah, it's tight to time.
That's the one part you're gonna have trouble with if you do have the air necklace. I feel like you're supposed to go onto the ground and jump because it seems to give you a boost. That works for me, but
maybe
it's weird and there's almost no leeway for air.
Yeah, it was rough.
At the very least, when you hit the final button to open the door for the ending, you don't have to backtrack through it like you did with Rouge's section.
Yeah.
I was so worried I was going to have
I was terrified.
Every time Knuckles' level didn't end, I got more and more concerned it would just keep on going.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I love the atmosphere of Cannon's Core because, you have 3 remixes of essentially the same melody throughout the whole thing. And it sort of builds up in the mech levels where it's like, oh yeah, get ready, let's go. And then when you get to Knuckles and Rouge's section, it's a little bit slower. It's a little bit more, all right, we gotta plod through this. It's a little bit chilled out even. And then you get to Sonic's section where they have the rocking guitar, but they have the violins to go with it, where it's like, oh, this is the dramatic final sequence. Which is funny because Sonic's section is easily, it's the shortest and, feels the most comfortable to play.
Yes, 100%. Sonic's section was definitely the best.
By Sonic's section, I was still trying to just recover the bullshit I had to deal with his Knuckles.
Fair enough.
If you're not into any part of it,
I just found myself super high stress and frustrated during Sonic's section, even if it wasn't that difficult.
If you're not into any part of it, this entire level is exhausting.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Sonic's section is probably the logical section to put at the end, but no matter what you would have put at the end, by this point, you're gonna feel exhausted.
That's fair.
And if you don't have a good stock of lives, you're fearing for your life because you're gonna get kicked all the way back if you run out.
Hey, using infinite lives cheats.
Yeah.
But the rest of us remember.
Stock of lives.
I know. Oh no, I know. I know.
When I did this the first time, I literally just went and grinded for lives.
Fair enough.
I should have. I think I would have lowered my stress level so much if I did.
Most likely. And then you get lots of rings for your chow too, so it's a win-win. But anyway, I like at the beginning of this section that Eggman says to Sonic, "Your last chance. We're depending on you." Wow, things have gotten...
That's very big of Eggman.
Yeah, things have really changed.
Eggman would have had to swallow so much pride to utter that.
Maybe he was saying it sarcastically.
He sounded genuine the way it's voice acted.
No, what you would do is you would have him...
End of him saying it sarcastically.
You would have him say it genuinely, but then Sonic would be like, "Hey, Eggman." He's like, "I was being sarcastic."
Right.
That's
a notable moment.
What a modern game would do.
Yeah.
Real.
And then Eggman was directly at the camera.
Gameplay-wise, though, yeah, it's perfectly fine. There's one part that freaks me out every single time I have to do it, where you have to homing attack onto a artificial chaos over a bottomless pit, and then homing attack back
Oh
Yeah, to
yeah,
open a
Oh
door.
safety.
god, yeah.
that got me the first time. I'll
I
admit.
fucked up so hard when I like somehow killed the artificial chaos without getting back over immediately.
Yeah, this is why I always get the magic hands before going into this stage.
Oh yeah, because you
Um,
can
After
kill it
doing
remotely.
what I did, I thought,
Yes.
oh fuck, I should use the magic hands.
Yep, that's the key. So in
But it
more than
never
one
felt important
instance,
before then, so I forgot I had it.
in more than one instance, this is certainly more minor. Upgrades just are a lifesaver. Anyhow, I don't have any more notes until we get to the surprise reference to Sonic Adventure.
Well, so that would be the ending of this, where it is a giant water slide, a coolant slide, I guess, that has
It's gonna be
strips
so
of
sticky from all the tang.
it has strips of Mystic Ruins Lost World in it. I think it even uses some of the exact same textures, and the music changes to be this very tribal bent.
That is so cool. You just suddenly, if you've played Sonic Adventure, you're like, wait a minute, this sounds familiar.
And the fact that, at the very end there's a replica of the Master Emerald Shrine. So Gerald at some point went to Angel Island and he studied the echidnas.
Yes, so
Yeah, okay.
I would say probably that he integrated that into perhaps other parts as well.
I guess so, yeah.
I will say there's this part on the slide where you're supposed to like jump up against the current, but the stage doesn't make it clear that's what you're supposed to do. So the first time playing it, you most likely will just go the other
Die.
way and die, and then you'll be like, huh?
Yeah, it's really weird that they make you do that, because it feels like, oh, it's a water slide, just let me... But nope, you
Yeah.
gotta jump over the side.
Nope,
so-
water treadmill.
Yeah, it's not, like, super intense or anything, but yeah. The one thing I will bring up, what the hell is the thing above the replica shrine? It's like a big, beating fruit, heart, flower, something?
It's another version of the ultimate life form that failed, probably.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what? Probably.
It was it's
Everything's
like
the ultimate life
it's
form.
siphoning energy off of the Chaos Emeralds or something to keep itself alive. It's obviously some sort of biomechanical construct. I'm not sure if that's really what it is, because I don't think the artificial chaoses were related to anything, but it's possible.
I suppose it does have one thing in this next scene. So, we were talking about the echidnas and stuff. People like to headcanon that Gerald found the Hidden Palace mural from Sonic 3, which prophesizes Supersonic and all that. And people like to theorize that that's why Shadow's quills go up, is because they're Supersonic's quills.
Huh.
That's a neat theory.
That's an interesting theory.
I've always liked it, even if I just think that it's just a hairstyle, so it's like, whatever, but...
No, that does kind of make sense, though.
No, it does.
Yeah.
And speaking of Shadow, this next cutscene here is a really good one for him, because he's busy brooding, and, Amy shows up and she's like, hey, why are you just standing here? And he's like, well, this is exactly what I planned for. This is what I wanted. Everything's going to plan. There's no reason for me to contribute. And Amy gives him this big speech about the innate good of humanity and how, whatever Maria was like, she probably wanted him to help mankind and not hurt them. And that finally fucking jogs his memory.
Apparently, the writers were like, all right, which of our characters have we not actually justified? All right, Knuckles. Oh, Amy. Okay. And so they finally gave Amy a relevant role in the story. No, Tails could have unlocked the cell door. Amy didn't have to do that. So that is good. There's finally a thing that it makes sense that Amy would do. It's a good moment. I'm a little surprised, though, that Shadow is just standing there like it's going to end soon. I feel like he would instead see everyone trying to save the day and be like, no, and fight them or something.
I mean, if he knows that there's nothing they can do on their own to stop it, it's just, why would he know that for certain, especially after he's gotten his ass beaten by Sonic?
Yeah.
Exactly. He doesn't seem the type to just stand around either.
Maybe whatever Gerald's plan was didn't account for some, I don't know. That's not a good
It's
thing.
not
right
a
now.
big deal. It just struck me as odd.
Yeah.
But yes, we finally get confirmation that Shadow's memories were, in fact, altered. And he finally gets back his real memories.
He sheds a single tear as well. which is like, you don't expect that. And frankly, that's like my problem with modern Shadow is that they never let him be vulnerable at all. But I tend to like my characters having emotions.
I'm not sure you're talking modern Shadow. No, no, this is Shadow's game, and I hate to break it to you, but this is going to be his only game.
Hey, you're spoiling the thing that I'm unspoiling by spoiling it. Anyway, so
Shadow never comes up again.
Sonic and Knuckles go to the fake shrine, and this is the thing that I'm talking about. For some reason, the bubble heart thing above it releases a bunch of projections of Gerald's video. I don't know what that is, but then I think out of that, so maybe it's some kind of containment unit, but out of that comes the original prototype of Project Shadow, that thing that was on the paper Rouge showed us. And it is an enormous biomechanical lizard. It's the bio-lizard.
It sure is the bio-lizard.
Man, the name is kind of uninspired.
I suppose.
Well, see, it's the only biological lizard.
It is. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, real lizards don't exist.
Yeah, real lizards are artificial.
Well, I don't believe in lizards.
Hey, here's something neat. The initial, roar, the, elephant trumpet that it does when it first shows up, that... when you fight it, normally it does the perfect chaos roar, but specifically that first roar it does is actually pitched down and modulated audio of the Japanese voice actors for Sonic and Shadow screaming their lungs out. And I've heard the original recording, and it's like, holy shit.
Interesting.
Junichi Kanemaru wrecking his throat to do it. It's very funny. And maybe it's just because he was reacting to having to play this next fight.
Yeah, so before we get into gameplay, Sonic and Knuckles are there, and they're like, oh shoot, and then Shadow's like, no, he's mine. Which,
I'll take care of this.
That's awesome, by the way. Having Shadow fight their own precursor, and they get the boss battle roll after the lengthy stage. That's perfectly Shadow. And then, atmospherically, I love this music track. It's very
supporting
somber
me.
and muffled. It's like there's a hazy view of things. Like you're a little groggy after you just woke up. Like Shadow finally waking up and getting their memories back. But things are still a little unclear. They're getting their bearings.
I love supporting me because, as a track, it's just great to listen to, but it's got that atmosphere where it starts with this, whirring, whistling noise that also coincides with it showing you the bio-lizard, so it feels almost like it's portraying that, but then it ramps up, and you can only sort of hear the lyrics whispered in your ears at first. You can't quite understand it, but then when it breaks into the chorus, and I don't remember exactly what the lyrics are, the song sounds like it's about grief. I don't know if it is. I'm not looking at the lyrics in front of me. If it is, it fits really well. And, it breaks into the lyrics and you can finally hear it clear. And the leitmotif of the game, of Live and Learn, is faintly hearable in the background as you're doing it, which is awesome.
I did not realize all those details, but I already love this, and that just makes it even better.
Yeah, it's a nice consolation prize for what is probably the hardest boss in the game.
Yeah.
I would say so.
Yeah.
It is a struggle.
So, I have slow reaction times, which means, it's hard for me to react to the shots from the bio-lizard in time.
Yeah.
So to me, it's basically like having to do a bunch of 50-50s in a fighting game and guess right on, consecutive 50-50s in a fighting game.
Okay, I see. Because you can either it has to be jumped over or it has to be rolled under, and it's complete RNG. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes you get hit when you do the right thing anyway.
Yeah, because there's travel time between jumping.
Yeah.
I think
that being said, I've realized I could just be further away from the bio-lizard, and then even my old man-ass reaction times were enough.
Yeah, that's key. Basically, all the problems y'all had with the Egg Viper, I have with this boss. I had a lot of trouble with this boss battle the first time. Then I thought I got the hang of it. And then this most recent playthrough, it was hell.
Put you back into place?
Yeah, it showed me. Gosh, this is one of the one parts of the game where it was the first time playing it. I don't know what it was, but
yeah, everyone's tough till the bio-lizard pulls up.
Basically. But I have a problem with pretty much every aspect of this fight, gameplay wise. I mean, the bio-lizard looks very unsettling and creepy. It's
It
good
has no
for
eyes,
look.
it only has
Like,
tubes.
like I am intimidated, but then I get angry, and so I'm not
Because I
scared
just thought he
anymore.
looked goofy, personally.
Well, it has a
By
big
this
Muppet
point in
mouth.
the game, I'm into the sort of graphical style, so yeah, he does look a little goofy, but
I mean, I do also
I'm immersed by this point.
with a lot of the games I play, my bar for unsettling and dark and like intimidating is very high.
So
Yeah.
for the time, I think this was pretty good.
Yeah, I think for the
Um,
time and for
Yeah.
the type of game that it is.
Yeah,
Right?
for
It's not
setting.
actually trying to have these horror elements. It's just trying to make
Yeah.
something vaguely unsettling.
Yeah.
And I think fourth time and for that bar, it does actually succeed pretty well.
Yeah.
I will also say, in so many boss fights in video games in general that have bosses that are just invulnerable sometimes, like there's no really good justification. Like it's like, wow, you just don't use that attack that I can hurt you at. But this fight actually justifies it because the Biolizard is obviously an imperfect creation, and so its life support mechanism, it doesn't do a great job, and so it gets tired out very quickly, and that's when you can hit it. And I think that makes a lot more sense than some of the other things we've seen in boss fights in Sonic
Yeah,
adventure games so far.
it also drives home that the Biolizard is when you fight a boss that shows more intelligence and then it opens its weak spot, it's harder to believe, but the Biolizard, it doesn't really show that level of intelligence, which also makes it more believable.
Right. It's just a beast. It wins
It's a
on
beast and it
multiple
acts
levels.
like it.
Well, and the
Yeah.
only time it exposes its weak point is it gets tired, which gives you a chance to grind up to
Yeah.
hit the weak point.
Yeah.
Which that's also rad, grinding up the tubes, and it's not just because it's grinding; it's because it's just clever.
I did enjoy grinding up the tubes.
Well, and
Um,
it's spatial awareness because the biggest hazard in this fight, I think for Bruce probably I saw him have trouble this. But you still have the coolant flow going through all this, and two parts of the platform you're on are open. And if you're on the wrong side of it, you can get washed out into the ocean and die.
Yeah.
I got hit while right over that area so many times.
Yeah, that
fucking
happened to me a
pirate.
couple times.
That was one of the
Yeah.
ways I died most. One of the two ways I died most on Biolizard.
Yeah.
I
The
felt
other
like I
being
had...
hit by Biolizard in a way that flung me further into the Biolizard's body, making me take a second hit before I could pick up any rings.
Uh-huh.
Oh boy, yes, yeah.
But I
Regarding
honestly
the
think it was kind of a good thing in its own way. A lot of the bosses in this game felt like they didn't really matter much because you could just always get your rings back. Biolizard had ways to say, no, fuck you, you have 1 health, not 2.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
challenging. I'll give it that. It certainly achieves that. But the water, I felt like I had no control of whether I died or not. When I fell in the
The
water,
water I wasn't a fan of.
I immediately tried to jump. Sometimes I saved myself, and sometimes the game said, "No, you're dead."
I'm surprised you didn't save yourself ever with it, because I don't feel like I ever could.
This isn't challenging, but the game just wastes your time so much in this fight. It's so slow. There are these long sections where the Biolizard just kind of spins around, not really doing anything, just spinning. Because it likes spinning, I guess. That's the
Hey,
nice
it's
trick.
a beast.
But you have to run away, but not run away too quickly, because then you'll run into its tail, and then it will switch to tail smacking mode instead.
Which I did like that. I felt like that added a good depth to the fight.
It's controlling the terrain because, it's a big arena, but it's only so big at any given point because your actual play space is very small. It makes you conscious of your rings as well, because you don't want to accidentally pick up more than you need.
The amount of rings on the level was a big struggle for me, because I would just accidentally run into rings and pick up more than I needed. But there weren't enough rings for me to get away with this mistake that easily.
Yeah, because if you're planning to tank all the black balls, you're gonna lose rings on each shot of those.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the black energy spheres are probably the actually best designed attack, in my opinion. If you're too close, it's impossible to dodge. But if you're not, it's fine.
I mean, they're the most rote, reaction based. If that's what you're saying.
It's the attack that I hate the least, basically, because
It's definitely the one that wastes your time the least.
Yeah, this fight is so slow.
Because
It's
at least
very
that attack,
slow.
you're interacting when it happens. You're not just continuing to run.
Right. But the worst attack in this boss battle is when the Biolizard decides to just shoot a bunch of eggs or something in the air, and then you have to homing attack them in order to reach it. By and large, the homing attack works pretty well in this game. It all falls
Yeah.
apart right here.
Yep, that is the exact experience I had.
I cannot do
I-
this reliably. I don't know how you're supposed to aim and
Huh.
actually hit. Also, the boss sometimes will just snipe you and be like, nope, you're dead now. I don't know how you're supposed
Yep.
to dodge that.
Yeah, huh. Okay. I never had problems with the
Yeah,
homing
of course
attack.
you didn't.
What the actual fuck?
It only does it twice, so there is a chance that if you just don't have the homing attack fail twice in a row, you won't have that big a deal with it. I have had it go both good and bad before, so I think it's monkey's paw, though, remember.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a
Uh,
bad time with it. I could not
Mm.
get the homing attack to work to save my goddamn life.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that
And
that was
eventually
the
I thought
worst.
like, oh, I just have to be doing something wrong. So I pause, I look into it a bit. Nope, I didn't find anything that I was doing wrong. I go back to it and then it just works.
The only thing
Yeah.
that I can possibly say is that the longer you hold the A button after a homing attack, the higher you'll bounce, which can make things different, but that's not like a strategy that I can tell you to rely on.
It
And
just felt like it randomly started working at some point.
Yeah.
yeah, no, it was literally I just try over and over until I just get it. I'm not doing anything differently. Just
Yep.
doing it over and over.
They could really do
Fair
with
enough.
they could really do with a reticle for the homing attack like in the boost games.
I suppose so.
Yeah, that would have helped a lot.
Yeah.
I'm surprised nobody's made that a mod yet.
The final nail in the coffin for this fight is it does the classic, I'm going to invent a new attack for literally the final hit. Have fun. Don't screw it up. When the Biolizard just like throws you in the air and throws a whole bunch of orbs all around, and you have to like carefully navigate your way towards the center, but you move so awkwardly. I don't know how you're supposed to dodge attacks. And when you get close to the center, the game will like let you jump and homing attack, but it's a little finicky. And also at this part, there's absolutely no way to recollect rings. So if you have rings that you've only got one hit, if you don't have rings because, you recently got sniped and it's late in the fight, well, you would have been screwed either way, but it's awkward and you don't know what you're doing, so you're probably just going to die in a second anyway.
Yeah, you really have to get lucky with the final egg phase, which is not the same as final egg, I just said that.
I got incredible luck on mine. Luck, so I didn't have like any problems with it. Like I paused it immediately because I realized I don't want to do this again, and this is the first time I've gotten this far. Tried really hard to evaluate the situation, figure out what to do, unpause, and then it just went smoothly.
Mm.
Wow.
How'd it go for you, Bruce?
Oh yeah, I had no problem with it.
Worse.
Okay. Sorry, Lauren, looks like you're the odd man out here.
No, it's okay. I like the egg viper, so I don't like this.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, so it is a very well conceptualized fight. The common pattern throughout everything we've been saying about these games is that if you remade them with a lot of very functional systems, there'd be a lot of really great shit in here. And this
Yeah.
is one other
Yeah.
example.
Definitely.
This
Yeah.
boss is remade in the 3DS version of Sonic Generations. It'll be interesting to see how that one plays.
It
Okay.
is? Wow, I really don't remember that game.
So, Shadow defeats the Biolizard, and we run up to the Emerald Altar, and we use the Master Emerald, which for some reason is really small. Knuckles can apparently change the size of it.
I think we saw that already earlier in the story, but yes, apparently.
Uh-huh.
That's not new information there. I don't
Oh,
believe.
okay. I guess I just forgot to note it until now. Really weird. They never bring that back.
Knuckles uses the Master Emerald to neutralize the Chaos Emeralds, and it reveals that, I guess, Tikal was not actually talking nonsense after all. This is just how you activate the Master Emerald, because Knuckles has a similar chant about the servers and the 7 Chaos right here.
Yeah. You have to perform the rites for some reason. But yeah, so they use that to turn off the Chaos Emeralds. Doesn't matter though, because the Biolizard is not dead. It uses Chaos Control to
Because of
warp
course it can.
away. And I should note there's a dub mistake here where Shadow's supposed to say, "Was that chaos control?" But the dub says, "Is that what chaos control is?"
His Shadow like is completely unfamiliar with chaos control.
He never
Yeah.
uses it.
But the Biolizard has warped itself onto the front of the Ark. It is grafted onto the tail end of the Eclipse Cannon and is pulling the entire station toward the Earth on its own.
Somehow.
Somehow, exactly.
I mean, you've seen how strong it is.
Yeah.
But it's not how physics work. You can't pull it.
I know,
You're
I'm...
That was my issue. But I mean, it's probably just Chaos Emerald powers or some nonsense. It wasn't a prototype Ultimate Life Form.
Yes, but it leads to another iconic sequence. We are out of time, officially. So we need Supersonic and the newly discovered Super Shadow to beat it. And, well, when they transform, I say beat it, and it's really weird the way they shake their hands when transforming. Not sure what's up with that.
Yep.
That is a little weird, but it doesn't make the fact that anytime they go super, it is fucking awesome.
Yeah, the music starting up, the emeralds spinning
Oh,
around.
yeah.
The transformation scene is great.
Fucking rad.
Yeah, it's time to finish this. Here we go.
The final part of the game, a supersonic in space battle against a giant biomechanical monstrosity that the game calls Final Hazard, over the Earth as the game blasts its main theme, Live and Learn, which is it's iconic.
God, Live and Learn fucking slaps.
Live and Learn is pretty good. It took some time to grow on me. It didn't have that quite immediate impact for whatever reason, but yeah, it's good.
Johnny Joeli and Jun Sonoy, they're great. And yeah, just the size and scale of the fight is something to behold, especially as, you'll have characters commentating over it, and you'll actually see the screens start to grow more red as you get closer to the Earth. Just the atmosphere is on point.
Yes, they do everything to make this feel climactic. Sonic and Shadow talk to each other and support each other through the fight, so it feels like an actual tag team here. And yes, all the other characters jump in as well. And in fact, the dialogue is somewhat randomized. So if you die, you won't necessarily hear the exact same things every single time, which is nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Hey, you want to hear a weird fun fact?
Sure.
In specifically this fight, not any of the cutscenes, in specifically this fight, Shadow's lines are provided by Ryan Drummond. It's not David Humphrey.
Huh.
It's really weird. He sounds very similar. Does a good job. Apparently could have done it all along, but
Huh. Man, I missed all these little things about the English voice acting by playing in Japanese.
the Japanese voice acting is also good. It's fine.
It is good, but like you bring up these things about English voice acting, I'm like, damn, I
but
didn't get to hear it.
Humphrey apparently wasn't available, but yes.
Huh.
So the
Interesting.
fight itself is so-so. It's not terrible. I think it's better than Perfect Chaos, probably.
I disagree with that, but I agree that it is so-so and not terrible.
I
like
agree
the
that
one-
it's better than Perfect Chaos because it didn't
Yeah, I
fucking break half of the time.
I
Actually,
like the
'cause-
one in Perfect Chaos, but that's just because it worked better for me. But
I
I
also
very mid.
I also liked it better in Perfect Chaos because it only took me one try.
Yeah, so basically, you press the A button to go up and the B button to go down, or, whichever buttons, the action button versus the jump button, and
Right.
you
Yep.
dash toward it and have to smack the glowing boil? I don't know.
It's little pustules.
You at least damaged its life support system, and it's showing the signs.
It's like coming unhinged.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I think anyway.
I think what I like about this fight is that it is willing to give you room to breathe. I don't like everything about it because it's not totally reliable. Sometimes you'll hit the swelling boil and it just won't do anything.
Yep.
Right.
But even if you fall back, you will have time to make another attempt, or you will have time to fly over to the opposite side, which switches your character and gives you more rings.
I'm not sure what you're on. If you get hit, you'll get launched like 10 miles backwards, and there's pretty much no recovery. Yeah, you basically have to switch over, and the game will give you more rings, but it will punish you for trying to switch too often, and you'll be given less rings to start. So I found that was never particularly reliable.
I didn't even know you could intentionally switch.
Yeah,
I
neither did
never
I.
had to.
Okay, well, I'd say it's decently balanced, is my point.
You basically have to never get hit. Any run that I get hit in, I'm
Oh,
like,
I got hit
"It's
all the
over."
time, and it was fine.
Well, Okay. I don't know. It's
Skill
I
issue.
can do the fight decently,
Be better at taking a
well,
punch.
but I have to be focused. It's not an easy time ever.
Yeah, well, and each hit ramps things up more with the hazards, where you get the eggs flying at you, you get the laser going, and then you get the other laser going. So it's like you have to weave through a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good. As you get further into it, the quotes that Sonic and Shadow say when you switch to them are crazy. I like to finish the fight as Shadow, where he yells, "Here I come, you creep!" And if you do that, you won't get the other thing, which is that if you're playing as Sonic, you can sometimes hear Shadow say, "Sonic, I think the true ultimate life form is you," which is, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Sonic's not fucking immortal, but maybe he's
It's
just
a
being
compliment. Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
better-
take that as Shadow hitting on Sonic.
nice. I'll also accept that. Yeah, anything to make it gayer. But yeah, so you finish the fight, and we have this final cutscene. I love the I don't know if it's orchestrated, but I love the music here. It's so dramatic as they're both flying through the jet stream further and further close to it as they're preparing the chaos control.
It is very fitting that the new ability, Chaos Control, that has been incredibly important through this game's entire plot, is what finishes it.
Well, and the idea that it'd be amplified by super forms makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Sonic and Shadow, they teleport the Ark back up to its normal resting place. I assume with a dead lizard hanging off of it. That's a
I
little gross.
guess. It might have fallen off and burned out. Who knows?
And then we get to the moment. I'm not totally sure what happens here. Sonic and Shadow, they send the Ark back.
Uh-huh.
Shadow falls to Earth. He dies, content that he was able to fulfill Maria's wish. Successful
never comes
character
back.
arc.
He never
Mhm.
comes back.
Yeah. It's sad. He was a good character.
Yep. Although it would really
it's-
mess up his character if they brought him back.
For real. Fitting.
Yeah.
It's a good moment. I'm just my wondering is just about the logistics of it. Why is Sonic okay and not him? What happened?
Because they can't kill Sonic.
It's always been explained to me that basically Shadow was never complete as the ultimate life form. And basically if he stresses himself too much, such as by turning super, then his body can't handle it. So he just worked himself to death.
Like he runs out of energy?
Yeah.
I'm interpreting this as he supered so hard he had a heart attack on the spot.
Well, that's basically, yeah, but I'm thinking it's because he was never quite finished.
I was always assuming that burning up or hitting the ground on re-entry was what killed him, but you're implying that he died in space and that Sonic just wouldn't have gone after him because he was dying.
They don't show the scene, but the way I think the scene plays out is like they win, they save the day, the Ark's teleported back, and then Sonic is like, all right, let's go back, and Shadow is like on the edge of death, and Sonic is like, wait, Shadow, come on, are you okay?
Like,
I'll bring you
he's
back.
not gonna
And-
make it.
Yeah, and then Shadow is like, no, leave me. I feel fulfilled. I won't make it anyway. And then he just falls back and burns up in the atmosphere.
Okay, that's possible.
Man, I definitely think Shadow, not being complete makes a lot of sense, because,
Yeah.
let's be honest, he really didn't seem like the ultimate life form if he was, at best, tying with Sonic.
Well, you can see the signs. I mean, he has air shoes that I believe he needs in order to match Sonic's speed.
He
So
definitely does, because if you look at how he moves with them, it's more like he's ice skating rather than actually
Right.
running.
so it's
He moves
clear
like a
that,
rollerblader does, or like
that he's a little cobbled together if he needs actual external equipment there, for instance.
So I
No, I think
suppose
there's
if
a
you're...
ton of evidence that he's not complete, or their standards for ultimate were very low.
Mhm.
So I guess if you go with the reading that, the experiment was a failure, it makes sense.
Mm.
But, so long, friend. See you next week.
Mm.
Okay, technically it's like a month from now. Anyway, the last scene is my favorite. I love I love the music, this soft piano piece, and it's just kind of the characters chilling out, reflecting.
This is such a excellent way to close the game. You start rolling the credits, and then as the credits are rolling, you just have these, these quiet moments between various pairs of characters, often the two parallel gameplay type characters, so like Eggman and Tails, Rouge and Knuckles. Obviously, Sonic doesn't have a pair anymore.
He does have Amy, who is also a
but
speed character, though.
he has Amy. That's true. It's a great sort of things are super hype and now we're calming down a little bit. It's a good closure.
Yeah, Eggman opens up a little.
Yeah, he does.
Eggman's moment is the best. I mean, Eggman's the best already, but yeah, so much of the time, is a complete maniac. But as I already touched on here, he actually like sort of pulls himself together a little bit and is reasonable here. He doesn't attempt to sabotage the plan at all, which is a little surprising actually. He legitimately pulls through, and then at the end, you get a glimpse of like maybe what he was like beforehand, because he talks about how Gerald Robotnik was like a hero to him, and he looked up to him. But then, when his own hero revealed that he just wanted everyone dead, he like couldn't believe it. He's like, is that really what he wanted?
Yeah, the seed of doubt has been planted for Eggman.
And the funny thing is, Tails' response is so Tails. He's like, well, I don't know about that. I'm just glad we all did it together.
Yeah, Tails is like, that's nice, I'm 8.
That's Tails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Eggman is just like, well, I guess you're right.
Well, and I like that, you were saying, like, oh, Eggman grows to respect Tails, and this is a good contributor to that if we're doing that, yeah.
Mm.
Rouge seemingly implies, like, she says something like, oh, I've got something better to chase than gems, which, you going after Knuckles, man? I don't know about that
It's
one.
definitely Knuckles.
That is 100% what they're implying. And they don't ever follow up on that.
That goes nowhere, yeah. Knuckles, like, Scott Dreer's voice acting, he sounds so friggin', like, peachy. He's like, oh, okay, that sounds great. It's really weird.
He's awkward, so it fits.
Yeah, and yeah, they end off with Sonic and Amy, and Sonic sort of gives a eulogy to Shadow, calls him a hero, which he eventually was.
Yeah, it's all about sort of where everyone came to in the end, because it's the last story where it all comes together, and so it's like a wake-up call. That's what this whole thing is.
Yeah.
For the majority of the game, it's like, okay, typical Sonic the Hedgehog game right here, going about, busting up robots, hunting for treasure, all whatever that. But now it's like, all the main cast is suddenly hit with this, and it's like, oh.
Wow.
I guess this is what the world is like, and what things are like when we're not sort of off playing our games, almost.
Yeah. It feels like it could have been, like, the last Sonic game, and it may well end up being the last Sonic movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if it feels planned with SA1, but it draws a conclusion out from SA1, which drew a line out of the classic games, so it feels like sort of the end of that generational thread, where, there's going to be good stuff in the future, but Heroes and Shadow and 06 are very disconnected, and Colors and Generations and Unleashed and Lost World and Forces very disconnected. And so it feels like a culmination, and it's good. It is a good conclusion, and, this story, this is why people are like, oh, you need to bring Shiro Maikawa back to write more Sonic games. And really, it probably is one of the best Sonic stories in the games, at least.
Yeah, I would say so. It's a little awkward in the way it's told, but it feels satisfying in the end. Should we do closing thoughts of any sort?
And it has, so closing thoughts. So, I think that in a lot of ways, I still like Adventure 1 better than 2, but I still really like 2. There's so many good things that you could mine from this game, and that I wish that they had drawn out into sort of other projects. The speed stages are still really fucking fun when they're not the dog shit ones that don't work right. It's got a much better pace than Adventure 1, where there's no walking through hub worlds, there's no having to see the same conversation, the same boss 3 different times, there's no environmental puzzles that you have to deal with. It's very gameplay focused, And if you just polished up that gameplay better, it would be stellar. But I wish that the walkers were a little bit closer to Gamma, and I wish that the Knuckles and Rouge stages design was closer to SA1, and that they could get all emeralds. I think it makes sense that a lot of people like this game better than the first one, even if I am not as big a fan of it.
I think my feelings are I think I prefer this game just barely, despite not really liking the hero story all that much. I think the dark story pulls it just barely over the top of adventure. Final story is definitely a lot more, in my opinion, enjoyable than the quote unquote final story from adventure. But to be honest, I don't think I particularly really liked either game. I think both of them have aged really poorly, and they're perfect candidates for remakes, like actual remakes, not
From the ground up
basic.
remakes.
Yeah, from like let's rebuild these games with modern sensibilities. I think that's the biggest problem these games have is they're built with sensibilities of the late 90s and early 2000s, and those were really janky times for video games, especially 3D video games. And it's hard, especially having played, after not that long after finishing Sonic Frontiers, which plays like a modern video game. It's hard to go back to Adventure 1 and 2 and kind of review them purely objectively. So, oh. Adventure 2 is probably the better game. I don't think I like either one. Someone's going to send me Anthrax.
No, I think that's fair. I don't think disliking either of the adventure games is a hot take, but it is definitely a take that will get Anthrax in the mail.
Oh, I don't think it's particularly a hot take.
Does not need to be that hot for your life to be on the line.
That's true.
True.
I don't think it's particularly a hot take. I think it's more the people that really like the adventure games are kind of like Gen 1ers for Pokemon. They are so violently wear their nostalgia goggles.
Well, and that's because all the fans who
take
only like classic
criticism.
Sonic have left at this point. They used to be that, but now it's just adventure fans.
Right. These people
I say as an
they
adventure fan.
I mean, there's hope for
you're
them.
not like a militant adventure fan. These are the kind of people that would actually like if you walked up to them and told them that that you don't like Adventure 1 or 2 or both of them, they would probably shank you.
Maybe.
Look, Adventure 2 used to be my favorite game. It is nowhere near anymore, so there's hope for them. They can change. They can learn.
You see, then you got to take off the nostalgia goggles first, and so many of these people don't want to, and I don't blame them entirely.
Playing another game helps. Like playing any other game, that helps a lot.
Well, these are the same people that will ad nauseum replay Adventure 1 and 2, like, and not play any other games.
Play another game. That's the motto of this
playing
show.
A third game.
Honestly, yeah. If you adore Adventure 1 and 2, go play something else real quick. See if you still feel that way. Go play like one of the classic games or one of the more recent games.
Because man, I loved Adventure 2, and then I discovered like Team Fortress 2, and then I've gone back to Adventure 2 after my tastes have changed after all these years, and it's like, wow.
And you're not even a TF2 guy anymore.
And I'm not even a TF2 person anymore.
I think in our adventure episode we talked. Do we actually talk about our like changing tastes and how that's affected? Okay, I think that this game has also been very much affected by that as well. A lot of us, we probably now understand that we don't have to play every game that's put down in front of us.
Yeah, I don't even like platformers.
You see, I only like certain platformers now.
Mario Sunshine is gonna break into your house and hit you with a hammer.
I'll throw Mario Sunshine in the fucking garbage disposal. Fuck that game.
Set me up a boxing match against John Mario Sunshine. I'll do it. Like, I think it was really early into Adventure I said that, like, you're not a real gamer unless your favorite game sucks ass.
Yeah, I can agree.
Just reaffirmed that.
True that.
And don't forget, also, you can make the argument that every game sucks ass.
Oh yeah, every game sucks. Every game is garbage.
All video games suck. I hate video games. I just play them because I don't have anything better to do with my life.
Anything that's ever been created isn't good.
Well, yeah, just
and,
look at
and
life.
this is the thing, is that we were able to get so much interesting discussion and even enjoyment out of these games that we're now calling, not necessarily the best games. It shows that there was a lot of ideas there that they are worth trying again.
Wait, I'm so glad I played these games again. I'm never
yes.
playing these games again, but I'm glad I got my last time playing them again in.
I could
Well-
see myself playing certain stages in this game again.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm gonna keep on playing Radical Highway, but like,
Like, I'll
but not in full.
keep playing like Metal Harbor. But yeah, exactly. I'm not going to sit down and go, I'm gonna play Adventure 2 again. Because fuck
no, I'm
this
gonna
game.
sit down and be like, I'm gonna play Radical Highway Simulator.
I'm going to install the game and all of my mods, play Metal Harbor, and then uninstall the game and all my mods.
Well, you don't need to worry about having to play the rest of the game again, Sid, because I am putting you in my kitchen pantry for a month until Sonic Heroes. So you're just going to sit there, be chill after this episode. You know, there's probably some crackers in there. I know that one of your favorite pastimes when you were a kid was to unzip bags of microwave popcorn and eat the bricks of butter like they were cakes.
What the
Don't touch my
fuck?
red Powerade, though. It might have ants
What
in
the-
it, but it's mine.
What the fuck?
He's ignoring the fact that I would snort the kernels.
What?
So anyway, I haven't said my opinion
Yes,
on
Lauren,
this
give
game
us your opinion.
definitively. Which, you know, it's funny. Some of the things when you were talking about Gen 1ers, but for Sonic Adventure, I was like, yeah, I'm some of those things, but not super extreme. Like,
No, you're not
I-
like extreme about
I
it.
respect that some people hate this game. Fair enough. It's got a lot of flaws. But I mean, I think I've made it pretty clear that I really love a lot of this game, actually.
That's fair enough.
I feel like all Sonic games, especially, are terrible. And so I don't think it's really a radical thing to be like, this is probably my favorite Sonic game.
I still hate it though.
Yeah, no, totally fair. Totally fair.
Oh yeah, it's still my favorite Sonic game. That's a way lower bar from me, but it's still my favorite Sonic
Oh,
game.
we'll see there. Then if you say you're never gonna play this game again, you're like, it's my favorite Sonic game, then yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, it has Radical Highway. It has to be my favorite Sonic game.
But I actually just like the game in general. I'm definitely biased because it'd be the second Sonic game I was able to play in full.
Okay, but you're like no more biased than the rest of us here. This was my first game for my GameCube, which was my first gaming system.
Yeah. No, that's true. I'm
still being super negative.
I was saying more in the grand scheme of things. Now I know I'm in good company here, but
You don't be on a podcast or something unless you're biased towards it.
Or against it.
yeah, one of those two.
And you're both.
Always towards everything.
Chaos.
But yeah, a lot of the reasons that Devin listed, I like it. It's just got a good flow to it. I think it ends satisfyingly. And similar to Sonic Adventure, I must say this game is very much helped by the fact that I bothered to 100% the whole darn thing. Honestly, I had a much better time 100%ing this game than Sonic Adventure. That's probably largely because Big the Cat is not playable in this game. But
He is
point
playable if you
stands.
do the multiplayer on the Dreamcast version.
Going back and mastering all the stages feels so good. I think this game, though very jank, is still less jank generally than Sonic Adventure. I think that's true.
Yes.
So it feels better to go through all the stages. Certainly that's why I love the hunting stages, is because doing all the missions, I've become very familiar with the stages. They feel like home. I'm just running around in the backyard. That's what it feels like in the hunting stages. Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up as to why I really like it. And it's just got lots of other little things on top.
I mean, that is all completely fair.
This show is all about examining our relationship to the series. And so it makes perfect sense that whether we like things or not like them, you know, it's going to play a factor in who we are, is going to play a factor in, you know, how we approach games and art and media is going to play a factor. And nostalgia is going to play a factor. And it's been playing a factor this whole time. I think it is never going to have played a bigger factor than with this game because it has so many striking things that we experienced at a young age, each of us. But it's not going to stop playing a factor until we get to newer games. Because, you know, like, next week on Deep Dive Zone, we're talking about Sonic Advance. That game is full of nostalgia that might make us overlook things about it that might suck. I don't know. I haven't totally engaged with it yet, but for tonight, we are going to be done. I am actively picking up Sid and stuffing him in my cupboard right now. It's a little hard to fit.
Yeah, it's a little cramped in here.
As he goes into the pocket dimension.
Yeah.
I'm really tired of pocket dimensions at this point.
It's just the cupboard dimension, which is just a part of my house. Anyway, If you like this episode, feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, criticism, feedback, more angry notes because we don't like SA2, except for those of us that do like SA2, which is half of us, so we semi-like Adventure 2, you can send them to any of the resources shown here on screen. But, with all that said, we're going to do Sonic Advance next time. We are going to be done for tonight. We will see you next Sunday. Have a great night, and take care.